Hey everybody, your resident bear expert, James Reeves with TFBTV. No, not that kind. I'm talking 4 legs and fur, not 2 legs and leather, you jerk. Welcome to Guns vs. Bears 3. This is the 3rd episode of our discussion about firearms and their effectiveness on mainly American brown bears, grizzlies. For episode 3, we've got some new data that kind of turns episode 1 and 2 on their heads. You may remember that episode 1 and episode 2 we talked about the best handgun. What is the best handgun for protecting yourself against large predators, grizzly bears, or even say moose in the backcountry? Obviously a long gun like a shotgun or a rifle is going to be way better in just about every single self-defense situation, much less against like 1,000-pound plus grizzly bear. But there are times where a handgun is the only thing that you can carry, like an example that I have personally. When Lindsay and I went to Katmai, Alaska to see the salmon run, of course we figured we were going to see 30 or 40 grizzly bears, which we did. And of course all of them were totally mellow because they were there for the fish, not for us. But when we went up there, we had a 50-pound limit. We were camping. We were doing backcountry camping in Katmai and camping at the campgrounds there. And for us to go via float plane, we were limited to 50 pounds of gear each. That's all of our camping gear and equipment, clothing, food, etc. for a week. So we didn't really have the weight to carry like a 7 or an 8-pound shotgun or rifle plus ammunition for it. Had to stick with a handgun. So that led to Guns vs. Bears 1 because I started doing the research, like what's going to work the best for this. In episode 1, I kind of went back and forth between 2 different 44 Magnums, like the Ruger Super Red Hawk Alaskan in 44 or the Smith & Wesson Model 69 in 44. And then in episode 2, I ultimately settled on a 10mm Glock, that is the Glock 20, which is the same thing used by the Danish Serious Dog Sled Patrol in Greenland to protect themselves from polar bears. If it's good enough for polar, it's good enough for grizzly, and it's good enough for me. But I also carried bear spray, and that holy shit, that was kind of cool. Anyways, as I was saying, sorry about the interruption, I also carried bear spray because all of the reports, all the data that I saw beforehand indicated that bear spray was 98% effective. How do you say no to that? In fact, those same studies said it was 20% more effective than a gun. Not only is it easier to use, easier to transport, easier to get to, but also more effective than a firearm. So the plan was pistol in one hand, bear spray in the other. So that was kind of my plan, whether it was Katmai, Denali, Olympic, anywhere we had a chance to run into a brown or a black bear, it was going to be bear spray, pistol. I even saw a park ranger bear spray the shit out of a pretty large female grizzly that got into the campground at Katmai. That was pretty wild, kind of got my heart racing, but I saw him personally. I witnessed the guy zap a massive sow grizzly with bear spray and she took off running. So it's like, okay, looks pretty effective. And I'm fine with that plan. I don't want to shoot a grizzly. Not only are there potential legal repercussions, and not only is it dangerous, I think bears, grizzly bears especially, are American and majestic as fuck. And their habitat keeps getting smaller and smaller, and life sucks for them enough as is. So I'm actually kind of sad to report that all of those studies about bear spray were pretty much wrong. I found some new data from Outside Online. We're not affiliated with them at all, and in fact, I think if anything, they're competitors of ours, but they're a good website. I like to read their stuff, and I found this really interesting data that I want to pass along to you guys out there. And it turns out guns are more effective than bear spray. Let's talk about that bear spray study. The bear spray study only included 83 incidents spanning from 1985 to 2006. Only 21 years. But only 50 of those incidents involved brown bears, and only 14 of the 18 aggressive bear encounters in the study were brown bears. There were only 9 instances of those 14 where a brown bear actually charged a human. So you're looking at 9 true encounters in this entire study. None of the situations were true surprise encounters, and all of the park ranger encounters involved like a situation I was discussing earlier where you have a park ranger hazing a bear, deliberately trying to chase it away from like a dumpster or a campground. The gun study involved 269 instances between 1883 and 2009, but it excluded results from Alaska's State Defense of Life and Property reports, and it used only incidents reported in the media. The DLP records not included in the study greatly improved the reported success rate for firearms. So you have 14 encounters with brown bears in the bear spray study, and in 12 of those instances, bear spray was successful. Sounds pretty decent on paper, albeit a little bit limited when you're talking only 14 instances. However, if you look at the defensive life and property records from Alaska, there were only 10 injuries or deaths in the 218 instances involving firearms, meaning that firearms are in fact 95% successful at deterring a large bear charge. Now, there are some caveats with the report. Of course, user competency is the #1 determinative factor in how well a firearm is going to work for deterring a bear. Don't give like a .44 Magnum to your drunk Aunt Lisa or whatever, and she doesn't know how to use a gun. She's gonna go out and get herself killed or get somebody else killed for sure. But even a firearm competent individual would do well to carry bear spray, because bear spray was found to be 100% effective against curious bears or non-aggressive bears. So, for example, you hear like a rustling in the middle of the night, you're in your tent, you go out and you've got a grizzly like raiding your beer stash. Nobody wants that, right? Except for the bear. You don't want to go out and just shoot the thing in the face. Again, potential legal repercussions, especially on federal land. While you can carry a firearm on federal land as long as it's not into federal buildings, discharging a firearm remains illegal. Not to mention brown bears, American grizzlies, seem to be on and off the endangered species list, and you could be in a world of hurt, especially if you're dealing with just a curious bear. So carrying bear spray is a great idea, especially in those instances where you're dealing with a non-aggressive bear. You can zap them in the face and it's going to be 95 to 100% effective, and you're not going to be thrown under the federal jail. So it's easier to carry, it's easier to find, it's easier to deploy. You don't have to worry about as many legal repercussions as bear spray. It's better for drunk Aunt Lisa who doesn't know how to use a firearm, and very effective against non-aggressive bears. So I still stand by the conclusion that having bear spray is better than not having bear spray. And we've heard it all said for good reason. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I'd rather not have a surprise encounter up close with a 1,200-pound Kodiak if I can avoid it. There are two main determinative factors relative to surprise encounters with bears that you can do something about. One is visibility and the other is group size. First of all, visibility. Nearly 2/3 of surprise or aggressive bear encounters occurred in low visibility versus normal visibility or high visibility situations. So visibility, carry good illumination, make noise if you're going to be out in low visibility conditions. Be careful. Perhaps the greatest determining factor, group size. A person traveling alone is twice as likely to be attacked by a bear, and attacks go down much more significantly once you hit groups of 3 or more. Guns versus bears is going to continue to be a staple for TFBTV, and as we get new data, new information, new studies, we're going to continue to update you just like we did today. And speaking of updates, again, like I said, in episode 1, James was talking about whether or not he wanted a .44 Magnum revolver of the Ruger Alaskan variety or the Smith & Wesson Model 69 and .44 Magnum. Ended up going with the Model 69 because first of all, it was a lot lighter weight. Second, I could shoot both of them equally well, even though the Alaskan is without argument a much better shooter. And third, because Model 69, nice. But for episode 2, I looked at the Glock 20, an automatic pistol in 10mm with a 15+1 capacity, smoking the 5-round capacity or the 6-round capacity of the 69 and the Alaskan, respectively. There were a lot of comments mentioning that the Danish Serious Bear Sled Patrol was using it in Greenland to protect themselves from polar bears. I looked into it. Interestingly, the guys also use Model 1917 Enfields in 30-06 to protect themselves from polar bears. So I did the math, I hit the range. It was a lot easier to shoot, and ballistically it looked like more than sufficient, albeit not as powerful as .44 Magnum. The 10mm was good to go. So that's ultimately what I ended up taking to Alaska, my most recent trip. Now, since that trip, I've updated my backcountry carry handgun one more time, and in fact, I was supposed to be in Alaska today as we sit here. I was supposed to be in Fairbanks, Alaska, but it got canceled. My flight got canceled because of the damn coronavirus, or as we're all calling it now, the flugaloo. So didn't get to go on this trip that I had planned to Fairbanks, where I was going to carry my new piece that I can't wait to tell you guys about. But I'm saving that for another video since this has already kind of run long. And in fact, that video discussing my new recommendation for like the ultimate backcountry carry pistol is going to be going first to our sister property, Outdoor Hub. So I'll put a link in the description, maybe drop a card or whatever in this video so you guys can find it. But you're going to see that video come April, and then maybe in May, June, July, around time for summer, that same video is going to roll around to TFBTV. But we're trying to get some love over to the video sides of our sister properties, give them some TFBTV affection, some of that hot content that we're bringing you guys. That was not weird at all. But you know what's not weird? Having awesome sponsors for an awesome program. Top Gun Supply, your online shooting sports superstore. Whatever you guys need, go see Tom and Michelle at TopGunSupply.com. Love those guys. I've known them for a long time. Speaking of long time, our longest running sponsor of TFBTV for about 5 years now. Ventura Munitions, the best ammo store. Because of the coronavirus, they're sold out of everything right now. But if you need hard cast lead, you need bear ammo, you can go to VenturaMunitions.com. Pick it up from them. But guys, I want to say thanks a ton as usual to you for watching. I enjoy bringing you this program, this content. Guns versus Bears is going to keep running into the foreseeable future. We're going to bring some more to Outdoor Hub first, and then we're going to bring it back over to TFBTV. Stay tuned. I'll see you guys soon.